Good day everyone. I am Victor, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is GAMP 5 second edition and alignment with FDA's draft guidance for computer software assurance. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Caroline Troiano. Caroline Troiano has more than 35 years of experience in computer system validation and compliance in pharmaceutical, medical devices, tobacco, and other FDA-regulated industries. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Caroline.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Carolyn Troiano. We're going to be talking about GAMP 5 second edition, how to leverage the principles when validating FDA-regulated systems. Thanks for joining us. We're going to cover FDA compliance and enforcement and what we mean by GXP systems and computer system validation, common SDLC or system development lifecycle methodologies, computer system validation in the traditional sense versus computer software assurance, CSA, which is a draft guidance from FDA as of September of last year. And then cover waterfall versus agile as methodologies for software development and management lifecycle. Validation components, rationale for testing. So what we mean by FDA compliance, GXP, where X is a variable, good variable practice. We have the good manufacturing, laboratory, and clinical practices. GMPs, LPs, and CPs. Observation manual. The investigator's judgment is what is considered. The warning letters and official correspondence going to the CEO noting serious violations. Now, GXP systems, we talked about GXP, but any system in those GXP areas, manufacturing, laboratory, clinical, anyone that's subject to the predicate rules from FDA. Now, the guidance from FDA for computer system validation was known as the Blue Book. It was issued in 1983. So what's required? Computer system validation supports the effort to make sure your data is maintained with integrity throughout the system to life cycle. So you see the system development life cycle. So the system development life cycle methodology is basically the process people follow for software products. The waterfall, again, that's the oldest, simplest model that was followed back in 1983. Now, with an agile methodology, you're working in sprints, which actually could be your phases. Now, GAMP 5, the V model, this is the V model from GAMP 5 from the ISPE. So the key elements are the validation plan. Now, the document-centric waterfall methodology, the one in 1983, was a hindrance to efficient software development, testing, and release. Now, CSA, CSV. CSV, again, it's documentation-driven, deliverable-driven. So what's critical thinking? Making connections, evaluating things critically. So in cases where there's minimal risk if a requirement fails, a simple test may be appropriate. But industry has been reluctant to adapt Agile. The reason FDA became concerned about software development in the first place was because of the medical device industry and critical thinking, asking why software is even being developed. Now, ISPE GAMP 5 supports FDA's case for quality program. Now, the GAMP 5 guidance includes the V model, the waterfall approach. Now, certainty versus discovery mindset. Companies also have to become more patient-centric, consumer-centric. So the approach is different. Waterfall, traditional, system development life cycle, phases, sequentially, in chronological order. Complete set of requirements up front. Users certainly have to own the data. They create the data. They're the owners. So developing your validation plan, size, complexity, business criticality, GAMP 5 category, and risk assessment, because these things will help you determine the type and level of testing to do. ISPE came up with this good automated manufacturing practice, and this helps you make sure that you are testing your work thoroughly. Now, the compliance drivers for GAMP 5. So second edition, there are some key differences from the original edition of GAMP 5. In document change, the second edition aligns with FDA's CSA based on critical thinking, and the areas of GAMP 5 focusing on user requirements, specification, URS. It also reflects ITIL, an appendix detailing the use of Agile in GXP development. So the GAMP 5 category, so of those 5 things for validation, type, and testing. Now, software type. And the risk-based approach is necessary. And there is a guidance from FDA in 2003 that talks about validation and risk-based activities. So identify specific risk scenarios. Now, requirements. These are very key because they are the constraints, demands, necessities, needs, parameters that have to be met or satisfied. So functional requirements, high level, allow entry of a product information, and the non-functionals. And then testing, IQ, OQ, and PQ have to be done. IQ, OQ, and PQ should each have a protocol. Requirements traceability matrix. And training. Now, electronic records and signatures. This is from 1997. Identity management, assigned roles, standard operating procedures, system administration, configuration, user administration and management, and document control. Now, data integrity. This came out in 2018, and it's very intertwined with Part 11. And the Alcoa Plus acronyms. Staff shortage is what drove industry to making this trend happen. Internal audits should be done. Quality should be picking up your issues before FDA comes in and finds them. So we're done with our presentation.
Thank you, Caroline. That does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.